So now that our user has joined a chat room and we have access to the updated chat room object through the users list variable, let's push this variable first to all users who are connected to this chat room. First, let me remove this console log statement, and now we'll use socket.broadcast.to method to first direct our event emission to a room with the ID as obtained in the data.roomID key. The socket.broadcast.to method dispatches an event that we'll write in a moment to all sockets connected to a given room ID channel. However, this message is not sent back to the socket that has created the event in the first place. Instead of using socket.broadcast.to, you can also use socket.to directly for the same effect. Next, we'll chain an emit event to dispatch an event called UpdateUsersList, where the payload would be the stringified version of the userslist.usersArray. Remember here that we are getting the entire chat room object in the userslist variable. So by accessing userslist.users, we get access to the users array for that given room. And since it's an array of objects, we'll stringify it first before dispatching it to all sockets. We will also emit this event back to the originating socket, that is the user who's just joined in, so that he gets access to the updated list as well. For that, we'll simply type socket.emit followed by the same event name UpdateUsersList and the same payload. This will dispatch the UpdateUsersList event back to the connected socket, that is the user who's just joined in. Alright, we have dispatched the event from the server. Let's listen and catch hold of it in the chatroom.egs page. But first, I'll create a function that returns the HTML structure for every list item that will display the list of active users. So, create a method called userList which will accept a single object called user. This will return a string literal denoted by 2 backticks, within which I'll copy and paste this entire HTML block with the class name userBlock like so. Now, since every user object that we get from the users array contains a profile pic URI and the user's name, we'll simply access and render those into our template like so. So in the image tag, we'll access and render the user.userPic key, while for the name, we'll access the user key. Next, let's create an event listener for the UpdateUsersList event like so. Next, I'll create a variable called parseData where we'll use json.parse to parse and convert the stringified payload that we'll get with this event back to an array that we'll be able to iterate over. I'll then create a variable called userslistData that will hold the entire HTML structure for the list and using a for-of loop, we'll simply use the userList method that we wrote earlier to obtain pre-populated HTML for each list item. Once our users list data accumulates this in entirety, we'll render it into this div with the class name chatUsers. So let's create a selector variable for this first, like so. And then using jQuery, we'll first empty out this div before filling it up with the list that we've just composed. So let's try this out. Log in, create a chat room, enter the chat room, and you can see the active user listed here on the page. One thing that will not happen at this moment is when a user leaves the room, logs out, or simply shuts the browser window, we need this list to update to remove that user. Let's code that in the next screencast.